The melee role quest in Dawntrail is very silly, but to be honest, all of the role quests are. Each quest revolves around reclaiming a stolen artifact from a Turali tribe. These artifacts are connected to ancient Tural Vidrals, each one holding immense magical power. The thieves are a group called Pursuits of the Unbound. Now, this secretive and very villainous order held its first meeting quite loudly at a local eatery in Tuliolal. The group is led by Afyahi, and this band of cartoonist villains has been stealing these magical artifacts with the plans to sow discord across the world. As a melee DPS, we start our adventure by meeting Sashyapya, who tells us about the stolen artifact known as the Dreamweave Cocoon, a vessel holding the power of the Swallowtail Tural Vidral. Before becoming a Tural Vidral, the Swallowtail would assume the form of more dangerous, poisonous butterflies in the area to ward off predators, keeping itself safe with its masterful skill of mimicry. As the years passed, the Swallowtail became more powerful till it became a Tural Vidral, with the power to shift into the form of any beast it encountered. And when it was slain and its spirit locked in the Dreamweave Cocoon, it obtained the selfsame power, allowing anyone who wills it to shift their form into any beast or man they encounter. Through generations, the village has been using the artifact to protect itself, but now it has been stolen and the village is at risk. The thief has headed to the distant city of Kugane, and the village's greatest hunter, Itoka, followed them to retrieve the artifact. But there has been no word from Itoka in days, and now they are worried something may have happened in those unfamiliar distant lands. So we are asked to head over there and find Itoka and help her get the artifact back. We know our way around Kugane, so it does not take us too long to find Itoka. She tells us the thief was a middle-aged Hyoran man, but with the artifact in his possession, he may look like anyone right now, making it almost impossible to track him. Almost, because there have been strange rumors of squabbles happening around the city, where oddly enough, one of the squabblers seems to have no memory of the incident. So Itoka believes that this must be related to the thief. But we can't just go around accusing random people of being thieves in disguise. Instead, Itoka actually has a concoction that dispels the mimicry of the artifact. She has made few vials of it, so when we find the thief, or someone we believe to be the thief, we simply throw one of the vials at the person. And if they're the thief, they will show their true form. And if they are not, we will just be random crazy people throwing glass vials of weird liquid at people. Yay! Together we explore the city, and we do end up throwing a vial at an innocent person who thankfully does not get us arrested, before we actually come across the thief. Two samurai are having a dispute, instigated by one of their wives, except that is not their wife at all, but the thief. The concoction breaks the mimicry, but the thief is quick to think, using the cocoon to shift his form into a hawk and fly away. Itoka grabs her bow, aims it and shoots, missing the hawk and nearly skewering an Namasu instead. This time the thief gets away, but the hunter does not give up after a single missed shot. Itoka decides to stay in the city, keeping track of any rumors of disputes. But things are calm within the city. It becomes clear to us that the thief has moved to sow discord somewhere else. The nearest settlement is the Ruby Sea, so that is where we go. When we arrive, we meet up with the Bakufu soldiers, who tell us that a confederate vessel recently approached the Ruby Prize without authorization, almost sparking a fatal conflict. While the vessel eventually withdrew, the situation is tense, and the soldiers fear it will escalate should a similar incident occur again. Itoka is keen to hear the Confederacy side of the story, and thankfully we know them quite well. So we make our way over there and ask around, only to learn that they say the Bakufu soldiers step beyond the boundaries first. It is clear the thief has to be here, stirring the flame, and everything seems to point to Captain Rasho, who has been acting oddly lately, talking about wanting to besiege the Ruby Prize. Which is incredibly odd, as we know Rasho. He's a pretty level-headed leader and not one to start unneeded bloodshed. Meaning, we can pretty easily point out where the villain is right now. Alarmingly, it turns out that this fake captain has ordered his men to get ready for fight, and to meet up with them on the Isle of Becco. We hurry there and quickly unmask the villain, who is doing a pretty poor imitation of the captain, and I don't know how the other pirates did not figure this out. The villain decides to take this time to monologue at us, explaining his reasoning for this whole mess. In his mind, the world is full of people masking who they truly are. He simply wants to force everyone to shed their masks and prove that all people are cruel at heart. Then again he changes into a hawk, and Itoka once more tries to shoot him. Itoka tries to shoot at him again and misses again, claiming that her bow needs tuning, so we return to Kugane so she can do just that, so next time her shot won't go astray. It doesn't take long before we get another lead. This one being uniquely dumb, as the thief tried to impersonate Lord Hien and stir up trouble in the Doman Enclave. He was obviously quickly exposed by Lady Yukiri and made a run for it once more. But at least now we know he is somewhere in Doma. To start our search, we head to Namai and inquire about any unusual quarrels in the area, only to be met by a local who claims that he had just talked to us, saying that we just asked how to reach the House of the Fears. Which means the villain is impersonating us right now, and I take personal offense to that, as there is no way he can match my adorable charm. We quickly make our way to the House of the Fears, where we find him as us, just casually trying to instigate war with the Oranir tribe of the Asim Steppes. Because that is definitely something we would do. We immediately throw one of the remedy at him, exposing the fraud, only for him to once again shift into a bird and fly away. Itoka shoots and misses. Again. We do point out that maybe the problem is not with the bow. And this is where the thief stops, turns and points out there's no surprise he can't hit him. She is not the real Itoka. The real Itoka died by his hands, and this person beside us is an imposter. And then he just flies away, leaving us with several important questions. But before we can ask about those, we are approached by one of the ninjas, who tells us they actually know the villain. It turns out that our villain's name is Samidare, and he was once part of the same ninja clan as the one who speaks to us now. Samidare grew up in Doma and trained with his brethren, and even fought beside them during the Empire's invasion, only for them to lose. After Doma became part of the Empire, Samidare was forcibly conscribed into the Garlean army and made to become an imperial spy. There his role was to travel faraway lands and, through rumors and manipulation, create unrest and fan the flames of war. It was until years later at the prisoner exchange that Samidare was finally set free and allowed to return home. But by then he was a changed man, cold and calculated, believing civility is just a mask put to hide the true nature of people, and this belief is what led him to join the Passage of the Unbound. But that is not our last revelation today. It's now time for the fake Itoka to tell us the truth. As we return to Kugane, she tells us that her true name is actually Kiyuki. Like Itoka, she is a hunter, but a bad one. As we have seen, her aim is impressively bad. Being the worst hunter in the village, she couldn't even hunt enough to keep herself fed and clothed, so she would often be relegated to duties such as cleaning and washing the clothes. She tells us it was her fault the cocoon was stolen. She was gonna use it to transform herself into Itoka, to get to feel what it was like to be a true hunter, just once. But when she was hunting out into the forest alone, she found an unconscious man. Or well, one she thought was unconscious. But it was Samidare who attacked her and stole the cocoon. Horrified by her mistake, she gave chase, ended up following him all the way to Kugane. And it was there that she met Itoka. Of course, Itoka had been sent by the village to obtain the artifact again. And there, Kiyuki admitted everything to Itoka, who was not angry at her, instead wanted to team up so they could obtain the artifact back together. But everything went terribly wrong. Samidare killed Itoka, leaving Kyoki alone once more. Well, until we showed up asking about Itoka. So she simply assumed the role in hope of avenging Itoka and reclaiming the cocoon. And now she asks us to please continue helping her, which we of course will do, though now with her using her real name. It's not long after that Samidare's old friend shows up in Kugane to tell us that Samidare has been spotted. He is currently in Hell's Lid. So we hurry up to investigate the area, only to not find a single sign of Samidare. Kyoki joins us to assist us with the search, only to suddenly attempt to attack us from behind. But we are saved by the real Kyoki, who rushes in and tackles Samidare, who was disguised as her. He does once more escape, promising to put together an even better plan next time to end her life. And this is where Kyoki realizes to her horror that Samidare probably used her form to take Itoka's life. Meaning we now must be extra cautious, as we can't even trust familiar faces. Samidare could be anyone, even disguised as our closest comrades. Next time we meet up with Kyoki, we make sure to ask important questions to confirm one another's identity. And this is where it tells us that the remedy was exposed to salt water, meaning it won't work anymore. So she has to make a new one. We go to Koganedori to get ingredients, only to learn that the materials are Turali based and therefore not really available in the Far East. But the trip is not in vain, as during a conversation between the merchant and an elderly customer, Kyoki gets a first view of something called glasses. An invention she has never heard of before, but one she is eager to try out, especially if it will improve her aim. We end up traveling around to Tamamisu and running a few errands to get her a pair of spectacles, and when she puts them on and shoots at the target, she realized her aim is much improved, as she now can actually see properly. I mean, there was no wonder she couldn't hit anything if she couldn't even see it. Our final breakthrough, though, comes a bit later, with Serena coming to visit us. We of course confirm it's truly her. She tells us that the villain showed up in a seam step, disguised as us, trying to instigate war between the tribes and the Domans. But like in Doma, the trick failed. But we suspect he might still be somewhere in the Asim Steppe, so we head over there. Reunion seems like the best place to find information, so we talk to the merchants, and we start hearing rumors that Magnai has been acting oddly lately. And he was recently seen entering Bardam's metal. We give chase only to find Magnai and Sadu together, doing things Sadu would never do and saying things he would never say. So it's kind of obvious who Samidare is disguised as. And he is just aggressively flirting with Magnai. But before we can step in, Samidare has had enough of our interference. He knocks out Magnai and then forces us to fight him, taking on several different forms to try to best us, but he doesn't stand a chance. When he realizes that, he tries once more to shift into the form of a bird and tries to fly away, but this time Kyoki has glasses, and she shoots him down. Samidare is captured, and Magnai wakes up to show him the full rage of the sun, which seems to at least momentarily break Samidare's mind a little bit. And meanwhile, we take the cocoon and return to Tuliolal. There we meet up with Sapeya, and Kyoki tells the whole devastating truth. She is so sad about her own failures and her involvement in the loss of Itoka and the theft of the cocoon that she plans to exile herself, but Sapeya rejects that idea outright. The forest and the village is Kyoki's home, and there is no justice in losing two daughters of the village. So Kyoki heads home with the artifact, and we stay behind in Tuliolal to prepare for our next quest, which this time will be the physical range DPS. But that's for next time. Tell me, what did you think about the story? I personally did kinda enjoy it. There was plenty of funny moments which I enjoyed, especially around the various missed shots, the poor Namasu and of course Magnai. But tell me about your thoughts in the comments, and while you're down there, maybe give me a commendation by liking and subscribing. And in the end, all I want to say is takk fyrir að horfa og eigðu yndislegan dag.